do you think that there is a sense of panic growing within Israel about them losing support in the United States, or are they really just consumed by these domestic issues that most of us are unaware of?
There's a little bit of that, but it's actually surprising how little there is. I think there ought to be more. There is an awareness, of an erosion of the support, not just within the United States, but within Europe. But the main focus is on domestic politics now. There's no question about it, and especially this incident.
But they are, in a sense, what's happening in America is domestic politics because they are so reliant on the United States for so many things. And
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Obviously, it's not, really a foreign policy issue. It is something that would have an immediate impact on every aspect of Israeli life if the U.S. begins to withdraw, to reduce its support for Israel. No question about it. Now, there is an awareness. There is discussion. I don't think it's very.
Are they that confident that it doesn't matter if they hate us right now? We still have the levers of control, so we don't worry about it.
It seems to be. I think it's just that this has gone on for so long that there's this sense of inevitability. This is just the way things are. I think even, maybe there's some awareness at the edges and some fear and anxiety, but I still, there is that maybe it's a certain smugness, or it's just sort of a habit of mind that's been built up over the course of many decades. This is just the way things are, and it's hard for them to believe that support could ever significantly diminish.
Well, the panic has set in for Zionists here in the United States. I think the Nick Fuentes interview was kind of a watershed moment. We just saw just the reaction from the, Mark Levin, Randy Fine, Lindsey Graham, all your standard people. I do feel like they are aware of it, and that awareness and that fear is going to have to spread back to Israel. And I don't know if it
has to. And let me just add, because there was another interview that I just heard about recently. It was actually Candace Owens interviewed Norman Finkelstein.
Yeah.
And which is interesting. This is actually, again, because, he's very much on the left. Mm-hmm. But she praised him, as just being a man of honor, and so it's quite remarkable,
Yeah, no, I mean, you see all these people that 10 years ago you never thought would be good, Glenn Greenwald and Tucker Carlson, best friends, and Candace Owens and Norman Finkelstein. It's just that everybody's coming together over this issue. And actually, let me show you a video clip. This is with Steve Bannon. I don't know much about Steve Bannon, but I do know that he was pretty pivotal in kind of the MAGA movement in the beginning. I know he was like very involved with Trump's campaign in 2016. So
yeah, very much so.
He does have I think his opinion matters within MAGA, because he was quite instrumental. At least I believe so. Right. So let me show you this real quick.
No. Hang on a second. If Netanyahu and if the Israeli government had dealt straight with us, you wouldn't have had this problem. They're liars. They've been stone cold liars. They gave bad information. So I'm not going to let that go unchallenged. That's just bullshit. Okay. Well, Netanyahu's government has been atrocious, and we should have regime change in Jerusalem, and we should have it immediately. They've lied to the American government. They've lied to the American people consistently. You say Israeli derangement syndrome. It's not Israeli derangement syndrome. I certainly don't have it. What I have is the Greater Israel Project. That was never done, and no due diligence was done. The American people never signed off that. The Trump administration never signed off on that. That's a Netanyahu. We need regime change in Jerusalem, and we need it tonight.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to see that coming from the right, within the MAGA movement. So I just feel like, I know we've talked about this before. I just do feel like the jig is up, that the dam is broken, that you have somebody like Steve Bannon saying we need regime change in Jerusalem. We need it now. That's a pretty heavy statement.
Yeah, no. Even just a couple of years ago, you would never have heard these kind of things or seen these kind of interviews take place. I think it is very significant. We're not talking about the fringes, Right.
Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, right. Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, all these that are part of the right, so I just think continue.
Okay. No, that's right. And then also I am struck by the, I mean, it's just the fact, too, that you have the left and the right talking to each other, like you had Candace Owens and Norman Finkelstein. That makes the phenomenon, I think, all the more significant, because to be, truthful, there's been much more criticism of Israel on the left over the recent years.
For sure.
No question about it. So it's not, but the fact that they're joining forces, I think, makes them all the more formidable an opponent to the Zionists. I noticed that, for example, in that interview of Nick Fuentes that Tucker Carlson did, he mentioned Glenn Greenwald. Both of them did, and they described, their admiration for him. And again, Glenn Greenwald is very much, a person on the left, and it shows that these people are not a bunch of raving lunatics or anything but it. They're very intelligent, and they are balanced human beings that know how to work with people across the aisle, and that makes them even, I think, again, much more formidable.
Right. The response, though, from the diehard Zionists within the Republican Party has just been fever pitch. It's just been hysteria. I don't know if you've seen many of these clips where, what was it, Republican Jewish Coalition, some type of event, and they rolled everybody out, from Floyd Mayweather to Lindsey Graham, Randy Fine, all of them, just to talk about this problem, and really as a response to Tucker's interview with Nick Fuentes. I want to play, I have 3 videos here. I don't know if I'll play them all because they're kind of long, but let me just play one. I'll start with Lindsey Graham, and then we can talk a bit about it.
He recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Why? Because if you got a problem with that, take it up with God. He's the guy that did it, not Trump. So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II. So, as a coalition of Republicans, some Baptist, some Jewish, we organize ourselves around principles that we love and we cherish. We love individual freedom. We love entrepreneurship. We love capitalism. We love Israel. We love the idea of Israel. We love the struggle they've been involved in. We love them, helping them because you're helping yourself. So to those who worry about these stupid interviews and far off places, don't worry. The Republican Party has figured it out when it comes to Israel. We understand that Israel is a friend of America to the bitter end. We understand that God blesses those who bless Israel. And where I come from, I figured that crap out when I was 6 years old. God bless you. Thank you very much.
It's pretty revealing. I mean, first off, the reason that this happened is because they're panicking, and these speeches are there to reassure the Zionists, the Israeli.
Don't worry.
Right. We all love Israel. Don't worry about people, little chatter on the internet, people waking up about things or accusing us of things. Like, don't ignore that. Everything's fine. But I don't think he did a very good job, because in the same breath, he also said, like, well, we've done so much for us. We ran out of bombs. We're killing all the right people. You guys bombed them so much we ran out. And at the same time, you admitted just the weakness of the United States. And also that you're saying we're killing all the right people. You're saying that all these children in Gaza, these were the right people, that these are the right people that we've killed. It's just, I don't know. It's shocking. It's shocking that a politician could say these types of things, and just there's no self-awareness, no repercussions for this type of statement. But he did say that that the U.S. is weak, that Israel has drained us. We've run out of bombs. It even happened during World War II.
Yeah. Also, I noticed he said he figured it all out when he was 6 years old, and it looks like he didn't really move on from that. It's still a 6-year-old understanding of geopolitics.
Right. But I mean, what do you take away from this type of reaction when you see Lindsey Graham say things like this? Is this to me, I was encouraged seeing it. I was like, this is a sign that it's all falling apart and they're trying to do what they can to bring it back together.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, it was empty. It was, I think you're exactly right. It was just an exercise in self-reassurance. We just get together and we say the same things that we've always said, and we clap and we cheer and just to remind ourselves that this is the way things are. Let's that bad dream that we had last night, that was just a dream. This is the reality, but it's not going to work. Yeah, again, those were hugely significant, and it shows that the ground really is shifting under their feet, and they can have they'll do this for a while, but it's just this is not going to do anything to persuade anybody who's listened to these interviews to change their mind and reaffirm their support for Israel. That's clearly it's not going to have that effect.
Do you think that we're just going to see this type of just panic and information war going on until there is an election and then we can see it manifest into something real? Or do you think that there's something else will come out of this beforehand? Like, will there be an extreme censorship change that becomes obvious to everybody, or there will be, I don't know, false flag war? I mean,
all those things are possible. I mean, again, it's just that the people who support Israel in this country, many of them are fanatic, and they obviously, in the end, do not respect the U.S. Constitution. That's the least concern. They really are Israel firsters. And if they think Israel is being threatened by this, there's just, who knows what they'll do. I don't think we should put anything past them. And I think all of those things that you mentioned are possibilities. Let's be honest. I mean, again, they have to tread carefully. They're intelligent people. And, they don't want to add fuel to the fire to spur a backlash. But they, as the problem grows and their panic grows, there's this increasing likelihood of a very reckless action. And again, anything from a false flag to overt censorship, all those things could happen.
I just hope we're at where we've kind of past the point of no return, that even if they do carry out these things, it'll have the opposite effect. People will know who's behind it. I hope we're there.
I hope so too. I think there's reason to believe it.
I mean, these speeches themselves are an example of that. It's just like anybody that, first of all, even if you didn't watch the interview with Tucker and Nick Fuentes, it's just like, why are you so upset that he just platformed people? The people on the right were always about saying, you can't deplatform people. There's your freedom of speech, whatever. And then you see just such a coordinated reaction that's just so hysterical. It's a bad look for the Zionists. Everybody that's looking at it objectively that maybe didn't really understand what's going on, I'm skin in game, saying like, this is not normal, right?
Yeah. No, that's right. It's often those kind of reactions that lead people, to the truth. I think there's no question about it. I can say that was true in, my own personal history, that I discovered the anti-war people on the right as a result is a very vicious and coordinated attack on them. Because going back to the Iraq War, there were some, significant voices on the right that stood against this war, against the Iraq War. And, of course, they lost the battle. The war went ahead. But I remember at the time, these denunciations, and they just seemed to me a little bit unhinged. And that forced me to go, or, led me to these people. And I learned a lot from them. So I think that, quite often these attacks, these efforts to censor, these efforts to suppress dissident opinions, often have the reverse effect. I think that's what we're probably going to see here.
Right. Do you want to watch one more? Mark Levin?
It's up to you. All right,
let me show you.
So, sure.
Okay, let me show you one more.
For 6 months, I've been fighting these bastards, whether it's Tucker Carlson or whether it's Nick Fuentes, and I've been looking over my shoulder looking for help. And you know what I found? Nothing. Nothing. We're here today to do something about this. What do you mean we don't cancel people? We canceled David Duke. Donald Trump canceled David Duke. We canceled Pat Buchanan. We canceled the John Birch Society. We canceled Joseph Sobran. We canceled pornography on TV. We cancel stuff all the damn time. Hitler admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters, American haters, Churchill haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them. It's called the market system. They don't have a lifetime job like a bureaucrat who we're going to protect. And if they're your friend, there's something wrong with you. No Hitler admirer, Holocaust denier, platformer should be anybody's friend, as a matter of fact. You don't get to wrap your psychotic, mental, unhinged, Nazi, Klan, jihadist bullshit around American patriotism. You don't get to claim you're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. The cowards. We're surrounded by cowards who have microphones, who have TV cameras, who have websites, who have columns. Cowards. It's spelled C-A-R-L-S-O-N. It's spelled F-U-E-N-T-E-S. It's spelled O-W-E-N-S. It's spelled B-A-N-N-O-N. It's spelled Marjorie Taylor Greene. You can figure that out yourself. And they're not alone. How are we going to attack the Mondamis and the Talibs and the Omars and the Sanders and the rest of them when in our own house this poison is spreading? We've got to take care of business. We can fight the enemy on the other side. But the problem is, the more daunting problem, the more complicated problem is when they're in our house.
What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's that's a different approach, different from what we saw from our friend from Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. Yeah, he's saying this is dangerous. The poison is spreading and so on. And,
right.
He calls them all kinds
mixed
of
messaging
names
here at this conference.
Yeah, right. It's this, we're in real trouble. One thing that you never hear from any of these people, whether it's Mark Levine or it's Netanyahu, is, maybe we should any kind of self-reflection. Like maybe the problem is something that we did. It's just these psychotics. They're the Jew haters. They're the Hitler admirers, et cetera, et cetera. They're just scum. They're just evil people. They're just evil, and they hate us because they're evil. That's basically the message that you get here. Say, well, this really took off after October 7th, and it was because of what you did, or not you, but the state of Israel, the IDF has done, and the world has seen it. They see it in a genocide. And their conscience has been stricken. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene, they used to be, she used to be a very avid Israel supporter, but it got through to her. There's just too many dead children, Mark. That didn't make her some sort of psychotic. It shows that she was actually a person with a conscience and said, enough is enough. I have to speak out against this.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's great to see this. I think there's this huge information war, and the America First movement is winning over the Israel First movement online. And so I'm very happy to see that. I'm happy to see people on both the left and the right coming together over this issue. I just want to see it manifest into some real action, though, where we can see the end of the bloodshed, the end of the genocide, the end of the support, the money, some real reform. And we get excited about these little victories and the sort of just the momentum changing. But when can we see something? Does it have to be, like you said, the midterm? Like, when is Lindsey Graham going to be up for re-election? Like, that guy cannot hold office anymore. If he gets reelected again after everything he's saying here, then I'm losing hope in this country. Like, how can it Because maybe I'm just in
know.
my bubble and I'm
Right.
thinking like, man, everybody's woken up, but maybe not.
Yeah, no, I think, well, first of all, I think that we should be greatly encouraged by these are real breakthroughs. They were unthinkable not too long ago. But still, we got a long ways to go because the establishment is still there. They're very much in power. They haven't changed anything when it comes to policy and their support for Israel. And, again, these are opinion leaders, which is important. People like Tucker Carlson are very important. That's why Mark Levine is, out there denouncing them, because he realizes that they really are a threat to the Zionist grip on America. Now, but again, we have to go from opinion leaders into the corridors of power, and so hopefully we will see something, a manifestation of real change in the upcoming midterms. Let's hope. And
I'm just thinking, just amongst us peasant, normal day people here, there is this battle going on, and I can see who's going to win this war. It is going to.
I think it's hugely significant, but for it to pay dividends, on the ground in Palestine, that may take years. I probably will take years, but I just hope fewer years,
But this war is taking place also in the halls of power, right? There have to be some people within the halls of power that are like, this is something's wrong, and they sense the movement.
Right.
And people are coming after them.
Seen some of that. For example, at least on the Democratic side, there have recently been, members of Congress that have, for example, returned AIPAC money. That's again, that's quite significant. Again, the numbers are small, but that just didn't happen before. Yeah, but now it's happening.
Right.
So
and
that
I don't know.
Show that maybe, I think that the tide is turning.
Right. And I think the messaging is getting to our politicians, the halls of power. I don't know if you saw that, J.D. Vance was at some Turning Point events and received fielded questions. And there were multiple questions saying, why are we supporting Israel? And, even tackling just the concept of Judeo-Christian itself. It's great to see, this is what J.D. Vance is having to tussle with. And he doesn't really have a great response. He kind of just gives you a political response and says, Trump is America first. Sometimes our interests align with Israel, sometimes they don't, that kind of response. But they are aware. And I imagine within the halls of power, there has to be some type of battle taking place. Is there? I heard something like, who was it, Joe Kent and Tulsi Gabbard are kind of pushing against Kash Patel, over the investigation of Charlie Kirk, because they're pushing like, we need to see if there is some foreign involvement. And I don't know if there's a little something there, but I
really don't know. Yeah.
But I just, it does seem like for the most part, the halls of power are pretty lockstep. Is there anything that a champion within the system, within the administration, that we can lend support to let people know, like, hey, we are, we do not want to have an Israel first administration policy. We reject Zionism. Who in power in the administration echoes that sentiment at least somewhat? Anybody?
Yeah, there's some people that have shown a little bit more sanity and restraint. Again, J.D. Vance seemed to at least be reluctant about the.
I don't trust that man.
Yeah, I don't either. That's right. So my answer is no. I don't see anybody.
Great.
In the past, maybe I had a bit of hope for him, but I don't now. And Tulsi Gabbard is another one. I've stopped hoping for anything from Tulsi Gabbard. Maybe I'm wrong and she'll surprise me.
It's just so crazy.
Wonderful. Right.
Did you think that we have a democracy? And the vast majority of Americans do not want to see our money go to Israel, do not like what is happening in Gaza and Palestine. But in our halls of power within the administration, everybody, they're all Zionists. This isn't democracy. They don't represent us at all. There's not they've worked so hard to make sure that none of these people are in here. Even though that Trump, the whole campaign last year, Trump platformed on like no more wars, America first. But at the same time, both Biden and Trump were trying to out-Zionist each other. I'm a greater friend of Israel. It's just disgusting. It's just nobody wants that. But that's all. Yeah. But if there is a politician, and we've seen it and we've talked about it before, like with Mamdani, he takes the opposite approach and says, no, I'm going to stay here in New York. This is the city I'm running for. Let's don't talk about Israel. We don't need, Israel's not part of America. Like, and now look at where he's catapulted himself. Like, we just need. We know that there's fertile ground for this type of politician.
I think so.
It's
I
crazy.
certainly hope so. It just seems like a political entrepreneur, a political entrepreneur is somebody who is looking for opportunities that have been neglected by other, politicians, conventional politicians. And I think that there is a great deal of opportunity, especially in certain districts, to go where nobody went before and to catapult your campaign. And I hope we're going to see that. I think we will. And it's a question of how many. Let's hope that it's more than a handful. It's a significant number. That's something to look, to follow closely in the upcoming elections.